Hi, welcome to Software Quality, the SAP Quality Imperative. Today, myself, Becky Weatherall, I'm a Senior Product Manager within OpenText. I'm also joined with Ray Tomini from our pre-sales team, and we're going to talk to you about SAP and how the ADM solutions work with it. So one of the first points that I'm going to look at is around creating new challenges for organizations. The SAP aspect, brings many different challenges that the organization needs to address. And some of these challenges that organizations face, and challenges that not only apply to how you're dealing with SAP as a technology, but they deal with how we deal with software across the board. The lack of alignment, the challenge in how you need to manage to meet your strategic goals, the visibility, the need to actually understand where you are, your progress and the cost. So having the ability to see that visibility, handling the fact of lost productivity. So if you're not able to be able to automate effectively, then you can lose the productivity. The challenge with the inability to measure where you are and how it is that you're moving forward. So what is good enough, and how do you actually understand what is good enough? Being able to deal with the level of velocity within the team, being able to deal with the bottlenecks and the different challenges that exist, dealing with the different mindset within the organization about how much testing, what's good enough, when you testing early, etc. So that mentality change. With the challenge of new technologies, you deal with that technical debt. So being able to also deal with the fact of understanding where issues exist and how you actually manage that moving forward. And ultimately, the delivery of your applications is really key to deal with that customer perception of the solutions. Now, when it comes to an SAP point of view, there's many different things that come in. SAP is not a solution that exists in its own right. SAP is part of a complex and large ecosystem. So with that being that complex ecosystem, there's many different intertwined technologies that you need to look at. And some of those are going to be standard, some of those are going to be custom. And every customer is dealing with their own challenges, business processes, different systems, whether that be legacy systems, new systems, different types of data, and the innovation. So when it comes to dealing with that within the SAP ecosystem, it's key to understand how it manage this from your business point of view. When it comes to this, and this is a challenge that has existed for 20 plus years, and we talk about it from the concept of the SAP modernization, but this is something that really does affect across how it is that we're dealing with software delivery. It's about understanding the risk that you bring into your organization. How much testing are you doing, and does it mitigate the risk? All of this then comes down to how much time are you putting into it, and ultimately the cost. So it's that typical triangle of the risk, time and cost in understanding how it is and how you address moving forward. Now, the SAP solutions that we address and how OpenText actually deals with these, it's about the fact that we bring to the table the fact that we provide the integrations to support the SAP processes and technologies. It's about making sure that with our solutions, we allow and drive that level of reuse and be able to manage the right processes throughout that deployment lifecycle. From an innovation point, it's how we're supporting how we're able to make testing SAP simpler, faster, and more robust. It's the introduction of the AI capabilities, the codeless, and really more of a business focus to testing, as well as the level of technical testing. And as we talked about, the fact that SAP doesn't exist in its own ecosystem, it's just as important to really ensure you've got that complete coverage of both SAP and non-SAP technologies. So the fact that our solutions not only support the SAP, but also support over 1,600 other, or the high volume of the other technologies, and the volume of technologies that we have to support those environments. And with it then bringing solutions that not only support cloud technologies, but also off-cloud technologies and the capabilities and solutions that we bring through with this. Now, with the ADM solutions within OpenText, if we look just end to end as to what we provide the support from an SAP solutions point of view, we really flow through from our solutions that support lifecycle management, functional automation, performance engineering, the integrations that we provide to then allow how we integrate with solutions such as Solution Manager or Signavio into our solutions, and then really rounding that out with how we can look at some of the security aspects, as well as obviously some of the operation. Overarching end-to-end for this as well is the ability to stub and manage environments through the use of service virtualization. So the challenges faced and some of the answers that are needed, the key thing to look at is, well, what are the challenges of what to test? So some of these challenges, it's based on your testing and what matters to the business. And this is the job of the tester to experience as a user will go live. How does it work? The act of checking, manual testing potentially is too slow. How do you automate? And what is important to the automation side of things? From a SAP point of view and a project point of view within the real world, it's about that, how does it perform? So ensuring that it's necessary level of performance. Is it secure? Have you met the level of security that you need to? And ultimately then, how have you finished? How do you know when it is that you finished and how it is you move forward? And with our end-to-end solutions, it's how we actually can then provide the answers to this across the board. So from the what to test point of view, it's about the requirement management for the business process-based and ability to prioritize test creation on automation. It's about how does it work and introducing the automation from the UFT aspect. It's about, from a performance point, the load runner family to give you that ability to load test and performance test your environments. From a security point of view, Fortify to embed application security into your code, and ultimately giving that end-to-end visibility and the centralized collaboration from that ALM point of view. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Ray, who's going to talk more about how we look from a management point of view. So Ray.
Thanks, Becky. My name's Ray Tomini. I'm pre-sales engineer based in Ireland, covering these products, the ALM Quality Center, the Value Edge, the Load Runner, the unified functional testing, everything that we have that wraps around the SAP solutions we're talking about today. What we're doing today is looking at the lifecycle management in particular, but we've got two subsequent webinars coming up, one on functional test automation, lots of exciting things there around using artificial intelligence for creating simpler, easier, more robust test scripts, and then a second one around performance and performance engineering for SAP. So what you'll hear from me today is mostly around the lifecycle management piece. Stay tuned and watch for the subsequent webinars on the other areas. So the first area in lifecycle management, I'm going to cover two. One is one you're probably all familiar with in this call is ALM Quality Center. And the second, stay tuned for that because that's our new platform for value stream management called Value Edge. Both have a part to play in supporting lifecycle management for SAP solutions. I'll start with Quality Center first. And really, I think a lot of you on the call will be familiar with Quality Center. I joined Mercury in 2000, a long time ago now. And we had a product then called Test Director, which has grown into Quality Center and subsequently ALM. And you might think, 23 years, that's an awful long time. But actually, it came in after R3. R3 was early 90s, 92, I think. So we moved lockstep with SAP in support for the SAP landscape and the SAP architectures around R3. And what Quality Center, the reason why it became so popular with SAP implementations is this end-to-end traceability. It's the ability to link from your business processes, perhaps as defined in Solution Manager, to how do we test those business processes for functionality, for performance, and raising defects against them as the testing continues. So it's around automating the workflow of all of that, reporting it back into the SAP world, identifying where the issues are and prioritizing the testing effort so that you're making best use of the scarce resources that you will have working on the SAP implementations. The point I have on this slide here is adapt to highly regulated environments. We've got a lot of that with SAP and with our quality center customers as well. So that auditability, traceability, very important for having a successful rollout of an SAP implementation. How that fits into an architecture diagram, I'll talk through this briefly. On the left-hand side, we're starting with Solution Manager, and that's into our integration hub, which is called OpenText Connect. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's basically a hub where we have several spokes out of that hub to different endpoints, like Solution Manager on the one hand. It could be Jira or Atlassian or Azure DevOps elsewhere. All of that allows us to synchronize various entities from Solman into Quality Center, ALM Quality Center, so that we can begin to see what do we do with these business processes in terms of testing them for functionality using tools like Sprinter for exploratory testing, using tools like Unified Functional Testing for automation, and using Load Runner for scalability testing. And in the Load Runner case, we have, a lot of you would be familiar with the Load Runner Professional for on-premise installations. We also have Load Runner Enterprise, formerly known as Performance Center. Again, can be on-premise, but can also be in the cloud, on the cloud now. And we have a cloud-native solution as well for performance engineering, Load Runner Cloud. So in each of these areas of manual testing, automated functional testing, performance testing, we have a lot to talk about. And the subsequent webinars that we have in this series cover those areas in more detail. So stay tuned for them. Then we have the Fortify area, the security testing. So black box testing, white box testing, and so on. Very important in any implementation, especially with SAP. Just to talk briefly about the two areas underneath that, I think service virtualization is really useful for anybody involved in testing an SAP implementation as it begins to roll out. The reason I say that is because these landscapes are huge. You'll all have, lots of application servers, databases, services that are coming on stream at different times. And it's hard to get a window into that big, complex landscape to do end-to-end testing. And end-to-end testing is the most thorough type of testing. So I've had customers who have like a front-end system and a back-end inventory management system, and they have to schedule a little window of a week every 3 months when they can bring people in for a couple of hours in that week to use the whole end-to-end system. Service virtualization allows you to work around all of that. You can replace the bits of the system that you can't easily get access to with virtual services. So for SAP, it could be IDOC interfaces, sending documents to and from different SAP application servers. It could be remote function calls, another type of virtual call that you might have to have. But basically, you don't have to have access to that whole end-to-end landscape to do the testing that you need to do. So service virtualization, very interesting and useful for any SAP implementation. We also have nowadays a device lab, UFT device lab, because it's multi-channel. It's omni-channel is the buzzword, I think, nowadays. Android, iPhones, browsers, different types of PCs. It could be any type of channel you're using to access your environment. Device Lab lets you access those on demand. So that's there as well as an option for people to use in their SAP implementations. So a lot on the architecture there. Some of it, as I say, going to be covered in the two subsequent webinars that we have. But getting back to lifecycle management, ALM QC, now you'll probably all think this has been around for years, but the point I want to make is that we've been investing heavily in it. We've got thousands of customers using ALM QC. It's married very well with our traditional SAP implementations. It supports it very well. And the reason why it's so successful is because it does support it very well. There's a lot of thought, a lot of effort has gone into it over the years. in recent years, we've revamped the user interface around analytics and the dashboard in particular. We've decoupled it from, you might remember, Internet Explorer being the only client. That's gone now. So it's a nice, clean HTML5 front end that you see when you access Quality Center, yet it will still be familiar to anyone who's used it in years gone by. So it gives you this risk-based approach to test, prioritize the effort where it needs to be spent. Where are the gaps in our testing? You'll see on a graph like the one above here, areas of red where tests are failing against a particular business process in your business process hierarchy, areas of green where we don't need to worry, and then areas in white where we don't have any tests at all linked to those business processes. So perhaps this is where bugs might begin to grow and fester, so you need to be aware of that. So it's all about giving you that visibility into how well the implementation is going from a validation perspective, and how to best use the resources, the scarce resources that you've got available to you. Just to focus a little bit on what I mentioned about the analytics, anyone who used Quality Center 4 or 5 years ago, you'd notice this up front when you log in. It's been revamped and refreshed. So when you log in now, you have a My Work page, shows you the recent entities that you're working on, so you can quickly go back and carry on where you left off. It gives you a summary of the indicators that are of interest to you, what defects are assigned to you. You can click on them and bring them open. And there's also a dashboard where you can track the key performance indicators that are most relevant to you in whatever your role might be on the implementation. You'll have people all the way from the portfolio managers, project managers, down to developers, testers, and so on. Everybody can have their own dashboard, their own KPIs that they need to track. And in talking about the dashboard, we've added an awful lot of graphs and capabilities to the dashboard, which I'm going to just quickly show some of the highlights of that now. So there's a planned versus actual for test execution, allowing you to see not just what was planned in the planning stage, but also how it's actually going. And it will build, you can see the diagonal line there building as it goes across the timeline to indicate how well the actual testing is going against what was planned on the nice yellow diagonal line here. So the plan versus actual, very commonly used amongst our customers. We also have support for composite graphs now. So this is a way of comparing any two entities side by side. One use case could be workload, balancing your workload amongst different teams or team members. Who's got a lot, big bar chart, who's got small amount of work to do, maybe reallocating work. This graph here I'm showing is around defects. Which defects, how many defects are active, if you like. So what you like to see here is the two bars being a similar size, because that indicates that most of our defects are closed or fixed, and we're only working on a small number. And again, it will automatically create this little trend in yellow here to indicate how well we're going over time, or over the different statuses in this particular case. So the composite graph, very useful as well. Another rendition of this is a kind of candle style. So here I just want a quick visual indicator to say, are we seeing more defects being reopened or raised versus defects that we've closed off? So red versus green. I'm seeing a lot of red in this chart. So perhaps as a team lead, I'm seeing my team perhaps under pressure with a lot of defects that are either being new defects or perhaps bounced back from being closed already and changed to reopened status. So again, a very, very nice, easy way of tracking that progress. And this reminds me of COVID. These are the types of graphs that we used to see in the pandemic, showing us various grim statistics. This is less grim. This is the defect trend graph. So we're seeing it's called a composite flow, and it's a nice, easy way of seeing over time, how the defect life cycle is going. Are we closing down? The color coding indicating how many defects are in each status area. So again, a very visual, easy way of keeping track of progress and allowing you to, steer the ship, make slight changes as you go along to ensure you're going to still meet deadlines. So how does this all feed into SAP? This data and these analytics are all great, but we need the relationship back to what we have in SAP. And we have that with certified integrations to Solution Manager. So in terms of our functional testing, there's you can run UFT, Unified Functional Tests, from Solution Manager. You can also synchronize the business process hierarchies from Solman into the requirements tree in ALM Quality Center, and also into the requirements tree in the new platform, Value Edge, which I'll come to shortly. The business process change analytics, this is really important around focusing effort on what needs to be tested, not just testing everything end to end for every change, but having some intelligence around what's being changed to relate that to what needs to be tested. So the business process change analysis, we have that integration, which will give us a filtered list of tests that should be run based on any change seen in the business process hierarchy in Solution Manager. And SAP acquired Signavio for business process modeling a number of years ago. So we can take those process model flows into our new platform, Value Edge, and that's where we can grow model-based testing from. So the advantage of that is that you can have a nice, reusable, clean framework where little components can be used in one place, used again elsewhere. If they change, like the login is the one I always quote, if the login sequence changes, you change it in one component and it's picked up everywhere. So it's easy to maintain if you have your tests, your automated tests in particular, done in this component-based way, maybe mapping back to a Signavio process flow, and that's all done from within Value Edge model-based testing. So it's all around understanding where you need to test, reducing the amount of time spent testing, and reducing the test maintenance effort. And again, I'd raise a little flag for our next webinar where, especially around the test maintenance effort, the artificial intelligence plays big in that area. And it's a pretty exciting thing to for us and for you to see, no doubt, in the next webinar. So in terms of the overview, the Connect Core is our integration hub. This is just showing the add-on for a Solution Manager where we can take those 4 different entities I mentioned, or the 3 here, the business process hierarchies, the change analysis, and the instance from ITSM, and synchronize them across to either of our 2 platforms, the QC, the more waterfall type approach, perhaps hybrid approach, and the Value Edge for the more agile and, well, methodology agnostic really, but it covers agile and waterfall and everything in between really, Value Edge. But Connect also gives us synchronization to other endpoints. So you may have people or teams using Jira, for example. We use Connect, the integration hub, to synchronize across between Jira and our lifecycle management platforms, Azure DevOps, and so on. So we have connectors for all of those different types of endpoints that allow us to be part of that ecosystem. But our center of excellence here is around the quality management piece of that and reflecting that status back out to Solution Manager and back out to any of these other endpoints that also need to know it. So in drilling down a little bit into that, from Solution Manager, you'll have your business process hierarchy, you'll have your change analysis, your incidents, synchronizing across through Connect, which is hosted in our cloud for you, and across to both ALM and the ALM Octane, or as it's now known, Value Edge platform. What it looks like, you have your business process hierarchy in Solman on the left here. On the top view, you can see what it looks like in ALM QC. Down below, you see what it looks like in Value Edge. Very much the same kind of view. Similar for incidents in ITSM, in SAP, in Solman. We reflect the details across into ALM QC defects and defects in value edge on the bottom there. And for each of these, you can decide, which field, for any field, which is the master and which is the slave. So coverage status of testing, for example, will probably come from the ALMQC side and be showing up in Solman. But the fundamental point is that people who use Solman can continue to use it. They get enriched information coming across without them having to log into QC to get that. And the obligatory slide to show that, yes, these are certified by SAP. So it does what it says on the tin, and there are the stamps to prove it. Finally, in my last couple of minutes, a few words on our new platform. So S4HANA came out, I think, around 2011, 2012, or perhaps even later than that. I think it's 2014, in fact. We came up with a cloud-native platform for agile management in 2012. So we've been working on it for quite a while. It's now grown over the years to support lots of different capabilities in there as well, but it's all cloud-native. It's all around cloud execution, around on-demand access to devices and browsers. It's around codeless by choice, and it's called Value Edge. And this is what it looks like. So methodology agnostic, you could have Agile, Kanban, Scrum, all the way to Waterfall on this platform, hosted in the cloud. And down in the middle section here, you see the various acceleration modules we have for this. So for SAP and the lifecycle management, the quality piece is important. The functional test, you'll see more of functional test and performance in the next two webinars that we have. We also go to the very left side here around portfolio management. So the strategic portfolio management of what we do. What should we be working on at any point in time? And if an epic gets accepted, it gets populated across into the agile management piece, into the various Scrum or Kanban teams. So all of that end-to-end, life cycle is around supporting a continuous flow of value to the business. So it's like a production line. If the production line goes down, the platform will alert you to where the constraint is. It'll also help you predict where the constraints may be building up. So it's all about enabling that continuous flow of value through digital value streams that support business value streams. So we see this as the way forward. While ALMQC still very important for the more waterfall and hybrid type implementations, as people move towards the cloud and towards the full S4HANA transformation, we see Value Edge playing a bigger part. And we have both solutions there to support you, whichever way suits you best. It all fits well under, as Becky mentioned earlier, the SAP Activate, that whole life cycle from discovery, preparation, exploration, realization through deployment and run. So that's really, in this short half an hour session, that's the life cycle management piece, how we support that for SAP, old and new. And we have coming up on Thursday this week, we've got the session to cover automation for SAP, the functional test. And then subsequent to that, we've got a session on performance. But I think we have 90 seconds or so for any questions, if there are any questions out there.
Perfect. Thanks, Ray. And we've had lots of questions coming in. So if we don't get the opportunity to obviously answer your questions direct on the call, we will follow up with you. But I think, one of the key, points that's come in is really about automation of S4HANA and really around, modernising for the SAP solutions. So I think you've touched upon a couple of points, but is there any additional points you want to add into that?
It's a really exciting area, and tune in on the next webinar on Thursday at 11 o'clock, Thursday the 7th, isn't it, of December, also on demand, where we'll be going through that. But basically it's around using visual AI. So instead of having to talk about the various objects and properties to automate those, we're scanning what's in front of the user to say, this is a home icon or this is a profile icon. And you know what? That profile icon is the same on Android as it is on iPhone, as it is on Firefox, as it is on Chrome. So we get a simple script that can work across these multiple different channels in your Fiori environment. So you have one script that you have to maintain that will work across these multiple different channels. And on top of it, it's codeless, so it's natural language. You could ultimately start in Notepad and create a test automation script that will drive the automation across these multiple channels that your SAP users would be using. Brilliant.
Thanks for that, Ray. So again, please do join us on Thursday the 7th at 11 o'clock for the Automate SAP testing with AI-based capabilities. And that will be an exciting session, really delving more into the AI and really the modern approach to obviously how we're supporting testing. So thank you very much for attending today's session. If you've got any questions, then obviously we're more than happy, we'll follow up, and any questions we haven't answered, we will reach out to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.